It's time the Knob Nation Dubs rallied around the boys in blue. I agree, it's 11 years since we won in All-Ireland. Good afternoon to you, Sam Maguire, go on. Even Joycey in Dublin is headed for Hill 16. Good man, Norris. The Rhine line is open and the Jacks are back. From Dublin to the world. This is love. This is love. Hey! Go on. Watching the Dubs since 95. That was the year when Sam arrived. 11 years have since gone by. 07, yeah. It's do or die. Ah, dear God, good afternoon to you. Hundreds of Dublin fans are contacting the live line complaining about problems with the team. Go ahead, go on. McVaughan's hairstyle is so gay. Shane Ryan's ball patch is insane. Jason Sherlock is too old. Oh, yes. Go on. But we got soul. Yeah. Feel the Dubs generation. He's the new hero for the Dubs. Mark Vaughan from Kilmacud Crow. Feel the Dubs generation. Impeccable shooting. Drinking on the hill. Where's your flagons and your noggins of gin? Feel the Dubs generation. Chanting on the hill. Rap. Come on, you boys, come on, you boys in blue. Feel the Dubs generation. Guys, I don't know if we can do it this year. I mean, Kerry are still the red hot favourites. In Kerry, their hero's name is Gooch. And we're gonna sabotage his boots. And I'm gonna smash Kieran Donaghy's toes. And then the pillar will unleash his pros. Cluxton, Henry, Connell, Griffin, Casey, Colin, Cahill, Whelan, Reiner, Morn, Vaughan and Connolly. Brogan Quinn, oh yeah. And then there's Keeney.
The teams have given two wonderful battles at Croke Park. Difficult to separate them, but Dublin had the edge this afternoon, and there is the final whistle.
Oh yes, boys, we've done it. Feel the Dubs generation. Up the Dubs. Up the Dubs. Up the Dubs. Sam Maguire's new sensation. And that Collie Moran is such a dishy dish. A taste of blue devastation. We're the new kings of the Ga. Sam is coming lippy side. 11 years in the way. Up the Dubs. Up the Dubs. Jesus, it was only a bleeding dream. Typical. Ah, well, suppose it's always next year.
That's the ads are over. I thought we'd have loads more time there and have a bit of sort of, getting to know one another and all that kind of thing. Little repartee, a little sort of build-up to the main item. Anyway, we didn't. So here we go. Summertime, as the song goes, and the living is easy. And summertime means festival time. And there are plenty of those coming up over the coming weeks. Some of them with mud, some of them without mud. Last night, no mud. Marley Park, no mud. So just how does your mind and body survive the heat coming off the stages this summer, as there does not seem to be much heat coming from the sun? That's good. Who wrote that? That's good. That bit was good. Did you write that, Trace? Did you? Very good. Very funny. Well, there to talk us through the ins and outs of summer gigs is our own Jenny Houston, who's a rock chick.
I am. I qualified
Head
this.
girl, stroke rock chick.
Yeah, I mean, I was too late for the Feilas of the youth because I arrived in 96. But ever since then, solid festival going, whether it's Witness, Oxygen, Electric.
I think you're better off. The Feila, I did all the Feilas. I did them all. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I saw Robbie Williams crawl out of an overturned portable loo in a mohair jacket with shite all over it, and he was happy.
The Portaloos being tipped is actually, I think, probably something like, by saying that, that there's people they're going to have nightmares about that for weeks. Because I think Portaloos are certainly the major downside to any festival.
Well, there was a time now, and Dennis Desmond was actually talking to me about this not so long ago when we were talking about the good old days. The bad old days, when there would be like 20 toilets Now there's hundreds and hundreds of them at the big
No,
festivals.
I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, every year the festivals get better and better and better. The food gets better. I mean, it used to be that you could only get a burger and chips, and now, you know, there's vegan,
Sushi.
vegetarian, Japanese. Yeah, I don't know about sushi at a festival, but there's definitely, like, I'd be freaked. I think I'd be a little nervous about that. But
that's because you're Canadian.
yeah, probably. And also raw fish and, you know, worms and things like that, salmonella. But anyway, I mean, I'm sure it'd be very clean if it was at a festival.
Of course it would be.
But certainly this year, I mean, Mexican food, organic food, the works. I mean, pretty much everything is available in that regard. I think
What's that you got in your hand there?
This is brilliant, I think. Drinkaware have got together and printed off a festival survival guide. Drinkaware.ie.
What's that?
It's
Who are drinkaware.ie?
it's Drinkaware. It's mature alcohol. It's mature enjoyment of alcohol and society limited. Yeah, MEAS.
Right,
They're a registered charity in Ireland.
Excellent.
And drinkaware.ie is the website. It's free, and you can phone them if you like and get it as well at 016114811. Anyway, it's a Festival Survival Guide. And this is really all you need, and everything in it is exactly what I would advise as well. It's the usual things of what you need. If you've never been to a festival before, I'm guessing Oxygen is going to be the first festival for a lot of the teenagers out there. And there's probably a lot of parents who have had people begging to let them go to Oxygen every year, and finally this year they've given in. They've bought their tickets at Christmas or whatever, and you're probably a little nervous.
Oxygen can be very, very enjoyable if you're well prepared.
Exactly.
All festivals can be enjoyable if you're well prepared.
Yeah.
If you're not
Yeah.
well prepared, they are not enjoyable.
And I think the other thing is that you don't focus on the mundane things like Portaloos, which I've just focused on. But there's, I mean, because the thing is, you're there for the music, you're there for the communal experience, the crack, the mischief. There's lots to be had. And the thing is, I mean, there's so many police and medical staff and everything on standby that you really don't have to worry. If you need help for anything, there's somebody there. But the big thing is bog roll. I think one cannot underestimate the a toilet, like a Portaloo is not pleasant, but a Portaloo without toilet roll is much
Any
less.
ablutions experience
Yeah.
that doesn't feature being able to
Yes.
clean your
We're not going near leaves and grass.
is not
Yeah.
good. It's not
No.
good because, you know, you think you're going to survive the experience, but a number of things will happen. One, it won't feel good. And then later on in the day, as you begin to
Say you meet somebody nice.
ferment,
Yeah.
right, your bottom is going to smell. And it's going to be a podge and Raj thing.
Yeah.
And
I
you're
think
exactly right. If you
meet somebody.
If you, for instance, say you meet Angelina Jolie, and she said, that Brad guy's a tosser, come into my tent, and you take down your jocks and you haven't had a proper bottom wiping experience, you're finished. No, you are.
You totally are. Completely. Yes, you couldn't be more right, Gerry. And I think it's good that we've highlighted that.
And there's no lady that I know that would go, that smells like poo. I find you even more attractive now.
No. And the thing is that women are used to carrying handbags, and men always go, what the heck do you have in
Blue
there?
roll.
Well, we have things like tissues, just in case, everything. But so the thing is, men need to be equally as prepared. So men out there, teenage boys, college students, whatever. Baby wipes, hand cleansing gel, bog roll. If you're camping, definitely bog roll. If you're a weekend or if you're just doing the day pass
And
thing.
put a couple of rolls in, by the way,
Yeah.
because at the very least you'll be able to sell them to other less fortunate people.
You'll sell it for a lot of money as well. I mean, there's profit to be made at these things, definitely. But baby wipes are the crucial thing. And a lot of guys go, what do you mean baby wipes? We're literally talking about the things you buy in a supermarket
Johnson's
or in a
baby
chemist
wipes.
to wipe your baby's bottom. And
Wipe
it's,
your bottom.
Exactly. You
Or
can,
wipe a friend's bottom.
while you're at it, there could be group fun involved in this. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is that the baby wipe is the all-over shower. It's the armpits, it's the everything. So basically, it is your friend. It's also, because there's not an awful lot of sinks available at festivals, it's important to wash your hands. And certainly after a greasy burger or ketchup-covered chips, you want to wipe your
I
hands.
don't know what you're talking about. Right now, as soon as I get out of my helicopter, I always have a shower immediately before I go into the dining room before the main act.
And that's lovely, but most of us don't have the privilege of flying by helicopter.
What, are you telling me that all those people
Buses,
at
yes.
Oxygen, how did they get there?
Erin Rod, well, I mean, Bus Erin is basically your friend.
buses.
I really recommend leave the car. Don't think, if in doubt we can sleep in the car, bring the car. Don't bring the car. There's going to be so many park and ride facilities. There's loads of extra buses going on, so check it out.
And
Go to your usual
back
website.
to the days even of Fela, and even right back even before that, being in the car in the middle of a drunk throbbing mass of rock fans. It's not a good experience.
No, and you're going to be stuck in it for hours.
And it's
the
all, but it's a
buses are really
freak out.
quick.
It's like the buses really work very efficiently.
Really quickly. I mean, I'm somebody who, I don't have a helicopter, but I'm prone to taxis and prone to the odd sort of driver experience.
My helicopter.
Thank you, Gerry. So, but I've taken Dublin bus on many an occasion. Because
last night, for instance, they had a separate bus sort of corral area for the buses at Marley Park.
And they let them out first.
And do you know something? The crowd dispersed. It must have been 10 minutes. Whoonk, buses, whoonk, gone.
Exactly.
It just was so efficient. It worked so well.
Yeah, I've certainly seen it take place many times at Oxygen, and it's very efficient.
I was near
Hanging
the
out with
buses.
the
I was standing at the.
He was near the people.
I walked through a field. I was the only person wearing a suit and tie last night.
How rock and roll. Not. I'm sure you looked great, though. I'm sure you did. Now, I mean, this festival guide, I mean, I think the whole thing is about festivals. One has to be honest. I'm not trying to freak out any parents whose young teenagers are going along to the festival. But along with baby wipes and that hand-cleansing antibacterial gel, which is a good call as well, they are saying bring condoms. If you want to avoid a life-changing conversation 3 months after the festival, not a bad idea. Toothbrush and toothpaste. A lot of people say, just bring gum. After 3 days, the amount of fuzziness on your teeth, it's not worth it. And no, you will be getting no romantic activity with a fuzzy mouth and bad breath. So toothbrush and toothpaste. But also you can
buy those toothbrushes that come equipped with a little supply of toothpaste in the handle, guys.
Tiny little travel packy ones. Yeah, they're great.
They're brilliant.
And sunblock. This Irish thing of we only get the sun 3 days a year, so let's just go out and soak up in it. When you're covered in blisters on your third day with heat stroke, it's really miserable. Really, really, really miserable. So bring the sunblock and bring your tickets. That's the thing that people forget the most. So the big thing is like the fashion side of festivals. Everybody wants to look good, and I think the girls...
Big challenge for the ladies, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think, we have to take responsibility for our vanity outweighing our male counterparts when it comes to things like this. Under no circumstances is it a good idea to wear your new platform sandals. No.
Or heels. I have actually, in fact, at Oxygen, I saw... ladies I know, in fact,
I'm
wearing
embarrassed
heels.
for women wearing high heels at festivals. You sort of go, oh... bless.
And these weren't the helicopter brigade. These were people heading towards the camping site in their heels.
And you see a lot of flip-flops. And flip-flops are great on a beach. Really not great in a festival full of 80,000 people and whatever they've decided to throw on the ground. And you'll lose them. They'll come off. So... my big thing is bring something warm. A lot of people, if it's a sunny day, they go, great, it's going to be sunshine. They've got their singlet on, their little camisole top, and out they go. The guys will rip off the T-shirt and they're happy, or they dive around in mud baths. And then later on that night, they're freezing. Then first thing in the morning when the campsite, because everybody gets up really early because the sunlight, it's freezing cold. So make sure you layer and bring your long-sleeved item. And, bring a little mini backpack or bring an over-the-shoulder handbag if you're a girl.
And if you go down to any of the camping shops, there's a sort of bun bag thing that has inside it a full rain mac, right?
Yeah.
And it folds down into almost nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't look uncool, and by God, when the teeming rain comes down just before the main act, you'll be so glad you have it.
And also, I think the most important thing is if you think that a rain jacket looks uncool, wearing a black plastic bag looks a whole lot less cool.
God, yes.
And all you see once the rain starts is everybody running around with bin bags on them, and it looks ridiculous.
No, it's pathetic.
So wear bright yellow rain mac instead. And wellies, the big thing is extra socks and sun hat.
Wellies are pretty next to having very good sex.
Yeah.
At a muddy festival,
and
folks. They're so good. Pack them. You will be so happy when your feet are dry.
Or wear your old trainers and bring loads of extra socks because they will get wet.
Just bring the wellies.
Yeah, and besides, they look cool. I
and
like
girls,
wellies.
if you're obsessed with fashion, go along to your high street shop and you'll be able to get your leopard skin print wellies.
You definitely will. And this is where the sun hat comes in, not only to protect from sunstroke, which is the responsible adult reason.
Wellies, have you?
I've got loads of wellies. Yeah. I do, yeah. And I've got good welly
loads
selection.
Of wellies.
Yeah,
I don't know how to respond to that.
It's, I spend a lot of time on the weekends farming. No, I've just been given presents of wellies because of my festival going activities. I think I've been kindly sponsored wellies in the past.
Sponsored wellies.
Coldplay, EMI Records gave me some Coldplay wellies one year.
Good, isn't it?
And the charity Concern teamed up with Hunter Wellington, and they were working to sort of raise money for Africa, and I got pink wellies from Concern.
The Gerry Ryan Show, Monday to Friday, 9 till 12 on 2FM.
Absolutely, that's exactly what you're listening to. Jenny Houston's in studio. We're discussing how to survive the festivals.
Yes, and I mean, the big thing is now...
How to enjoy them.
How to enjoy them, exactly. Because the thing is, I think a lot of people do dwell on the negatives, and the whole thing is festivals are great fun. That's why there's so many of them, and that's why there's so many new ones, and everybody's just looking for a different angle.
Can I just say something maybe at this stage, and this is in relation to an experience my daughter had. Don't poo in somebody else's tent.
Oh, God.
Please.
Oh, there's so many nightmares about tents.
And if the guy who did it, and I don't know why I'm suspecting a guy, but I deeply suspect it was a male who did that, one day I will get you.
Oh, it's horrible. It is horrible. I mean, the whole thing is, you know, if you're camping, whether it's electric picnic or oxygen, you have a choice. There are quiet campsites which you can get to early. You can go to the websites in advance and print off site maps so you can know exactly what to expect, so that you know where to drive into, where to sort of go for it. And also, you don't want to pitch your tent anywhere near the toilets. You might think in the middle of the night, I need to go to the toilet, I don't have to walk very far away. I assure you, you do want to have to walk far away to get to the toilets. So you want to park at the top of a hill, or I should say pitch at the top of the hill. Good drainage, exactly. You do not want to be below the toilets.
And also, when
drainage.
you arrive at the site, do not go anywhere near the group of guys who have gotten pissed at 10 o'clock in the morning and who've now turned their area of the campsite into upriver at the Dolong Bridge from Apocalypse Now. It may look hilarious now, but I assure you, when they're trying to sexually assault you or poo in your tent later on, you will not want to be anywhere near them.
No, definitely not. No, I think the thing is, I mean, choose wisely. Pitch your tent when it's daylight. Don't wait till later. And also, you need to mark it. It's like having a black suitcase. You know,
and there's different levels at some festivals of campsite. Pay the extra few bob and get the good place.
Yeah, there's VIP campsites. There's, I mean, now...
And you can buy all that stuff's purchasable now.
It is. And now they have, they even have... poodle parlours and things like that, where you can get your hair blow dried and GHD'd, and you know, I mean, you can go luxury if you want to at festivals. But anyway, so that's
campers is another big thing. I've seen a lot of people hiring campers.
Campers are amazing. Now it does change the expense rather dramatically.
Yeah, but poodle together with your pals and do it.
Yeah, no, it is a good call, and there are camper van sites.
And actually have somebody who can drive it. That's another good tip.
And I always think, I mean, if you're camping, I mean, if this is something that you've saved up for and you're a student and you don't have a whole lot of extra dosh, make sure you bring things like a big bottle of water and keep refilling it. There are taps. You're going to need the water every day. And bring granola bars and things like that. You don't have to, you know, buy 3 meals a day if you don't need to. So bring
and be careful about
goods.
Landing your helicopter in a place that's very muddy, because there can be safety issues when you're trying to take off.
You're such a brat. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and also if you've got pals who are blagging and lifting your helicopter, make them take off their wellies before they get in on the way home.
I'm going to tell you about some of my favourite festivals on offer, and a couple of new ones. There's 2 new ones that I'm very excited about. Love Box Dublin by Bacardi. That's Malahide Castle. So that's very easy to get
venue,
to.
beautiful setting.
It's gorgeous, and the biggest thing, I think the major advantage of Malahide Castle is on the end of the Dart. So no matter where you are in Dublin, you can get to a dart line and just...
Respect the village, by the way, folks. This is a beautiful village, and these people are very decent to allow you into their lives for a brief period of time.
Yeah.
Be gracious and respect their property, and don't freak out because, you know, you won't be invited back.
Yeah, that's a very good point. They've got Groove Armada, Super Free Animals, The Rapture, Toots and Maytals, and loads of extras going on.
Good, isn't it? It's a great lineup.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool. And they've got the new website now, which is lovebox.ie, if you want to check that one out for the Dublin City Centre. Now, if you're on the West Coast, I love this one. I think this is so cool. Cosh Ferriga, brand new. Sony Ericsson have decided...
Say that again?
Cosh Ferriga. How am I doing? Is that all right?
Good. Yeah, it's very
okay.
good, yeah.
Good. It's Ireland's first ever surf and music festival. Surfing. I know. I mean, it's about time. So fair play to Sony Ericsson on that one. It's in County Clare. It's taking place in Doonbeg and Kilkee. And basically what they've got is an invitational only surf championships taking place, a surf competition. The top 40 surfers in Ireland are going to be invited to compete. So they're going to have Heat 1 on the Saturday and Heat 2, the semi-finals and the finals on the Sunday. And what they're going to do is they're basically going to be judged on, get this, I love this, wave selection, aerial dominance, Gerry. Aerial dominance.
Yeah, that's the Little Mermaid, isn't it?
Yeah, but also I sort of think of you and radio and aerial dominance.
Aerial dominance.
It's a good one. Yeah, I think you should incorporate that into your liners. Anyway, so judged on aerial dominance, wave selection, and freestyle trickery.
I like a bit of freestyle trickery.
Yeah, so do I. So I think that's really cool. And the idea of, we have a lot of surfers in Ireland. So top 40 surfers,
I wonder how that's going to work out. You go and check out the surfer, then come back for the fun-loving criminals.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. It's completely separate. And the music doesn't start at night time. So you don't have to pick and choose. The surfing's by day and the music's by night.
And who's running that particular festival?
It's Sony Ericsson and MCD. So, I mean, they've got...
Okay, so these are guys who've loads of MC. Once you see either MCD or Aiken on the ticket, there are people who have a huge amount of experience, and the pod guys too as well.
Who team up often with Aiken as well. But yeah, fun-loving criminals, favourite Irish bands like the Blizzards and Republica Loose will be playing, and loads of extras. So that is taking place in September, the 7th, 8th and 9th. So again, it's Cosh Ferga, and that is in County Clare. So that's a cool new one. Then, of course, you can't forget the old favourites like Oxygen and Electric Picnic. Electric Picnic is a ways away, so we'll have a look at Oxygen since it's around the corner. And I know that all the students are just dying to go. It's sort of affectionately known as a Leaving Cert party, and it can be for some people, but there's loads of extras this year. They've gone environmental, which is a very pleasant surprise.
How do you mean they've gone environmental? What does that mean?
Well, they've teamed up with the Irish Coalition of Development, Environment, Faith and Youth groups called Stop Climate Chaos. And they're going green. They've got cleaning companies that are going to try to recycle what they can or reduce. Apparently, the plastic cups for your beer are disappearing, and it's going to be recycled paper cups, which I really like the idea of.
If they work.
Yeah, which is cool. But they're just generally, apparently, there's environmental generators involved, things like that. So it's going to be much more energy responsible this year.
What are environmental generators? One of pedal power.
I have no idea, but it sounds good, doesn't it?
It's a good idea.
Yeah, and it's teaming up basically with the whole Live Earth on Saturday, the whole climate change.
And John
festival.
Gormley's going to be the MC.
Yeah, exactly. And Coca-Cola are there doing as well. So in the campsite, there's going to be things like Giant Twister or campsite karaoke. And they've got loads of people like MySpace in there. They've got funky buses and places where people hang out. So there's loads of kind of extra stuff going on. And Drinkaware, the people that put on that festival handbook, which is free from the website, they're kind of going to be there as well.
And can I just give a little tip to anybody who's thinking of acting the maggot, maybe stealing stuff or wrecking somebody else's property or causing
burning a tent
any sort of
something.
messing. At Oxygen last year, I was wandering around and I went into the security room. And in the security room, there is a bank of video monitors. They can literally focus in on your wristband. They will see everything and anything. They are in constant contact and communication with stewards and the guards and specially trained security people. They see absolutely everything.
And I think what people underestimate is how many undercover cops there are at Oxygen.
And the minute anything starts happening, it's out go the security guys and the police, and you will be caught. If you're selling drugs, if you're trying to hassle somebody, if you're doing anything that's wrong or smart-assed, you'll be got.
And in regard to drugs, I mean, this is an important point because some people take medication, we're talking clean, legal, prescribed drug medication. And if you arrive with a few of your sort of... I don't know, whether you're diabetic or maybe you're epileptic or something, whatever medication you have, if you've got it sort of in a pocket of your jeans and you arrive at the gate, they might question it. Now, there are doctors on standby at the gates to have a look at medication, but to make your life easier so that you don't have to go through the rigmarole of explaining what these tablets are. Well, or bring it in its original bottle. Bring it with a prescription on it. So that'll help the doctors and it'll help, it goes through a little more smoothly for you. The other advice for Oxygen, which is important because it's one of the few festivals that does allow people under 17 in there. If you're under 17, you have to be with somebody over 25. And we don't mean just coming up to the gate, but you have to be signed in. You have to have, permission from your parents. They've got a tenant. They'll actually phone your parents and say, we've got your 15-year-old daughter here. She's at Oxygen. Do you give her permission to be here? So you can't pull the wool over your parents' eyes, so to speak. You have to do that. Yeah, no, you actually have to be signed in. Yeah, the guardian, that over 25-year-old, has to sign you in and on your behalf. So they do take that quite seriously. And there is, you have to if you're over 18, you have to prove it. So if you think, I totally look 22, there's no way they're going to ID me, they really will. So make sure that you have the appropriate ID. Go to oxygen.ie and they'll let you know which it is. Because you won't get a wristband otherwise. So you can't, without a wristband, you can't buy any drink.
So what's there this year?
I mean, besides the fact that it's actually one of the most incredible musical lineups you've ever seen, I think people sometimes forget that. It's like, Oxygen is just, you buy your ticket at Christmas when you don't know who's on it, and you think, oh, sure, they could put on anybody. But the thing is, they have the greatest bands in the world right now.
Look at this lineup. Let's have a look at the lineup first. What is it?
Muse, Snow Patrol, Scissor Sisters, Kings of Leon, the Fratellis. You've got Queens of Stone Age, Editors, Interpol, Maxima Park, The Gossip, The Twang, the Razorlight, Arcade Fire, The Kooks, Block Party, Daft Punk, My Chemical Romance. Remember the emos? Baby Shambles, CSS. You've got all the great Irish bands, the Blizzards, Charlotte Hatherley, Long Blondes, Cold War Kids, Rufus Wainwright, Brian Wilson. I mean, Claxons. It goes on and on. It's really, really incredible. Kathy Davey, De Laurentiis, David Kay, the works.
I know, it's an absolutely fantastic lineup.
And that's not even the dance bands.
Because there's so much there, you could easily end up going, really looking forward to Snow Patrol.
Yeah.
That was yesterday. What?
Yeah.
Where was I? You were crashed out in the tent.
No.
Oh. So don't let that happen to you.
No, because, this year they've added a comedy tent, which is cool. So there's going to be 10 major acts over the weekend. You've got the Bacardi B Live Arena every year, which is kind of, the sort of Latin dance mix and cocktails and all that sort of stuff. And as I was saying, in the campsites, there's a lot of fun to be had in the campsites. They don't have to be a source of fear or misery whatsoever. It'll be brilliant crack. But they've got the giant twister and the karaoke, and they do have the Summer Days bus, which is like an antique bus that's being completely made over for sort of networking and hanging out. And you've got people like Amber Solaire with, they've always got new products, and this is their chance to try out their new products. So if you forget your sunscreen, they'll be going around with their Clear Protect spray, dosing up people, which is always handy.
Are they going to provide one of those mobile phone recharging stations, I wonder, this year?
Vodafone is usually there every year, so I presume they will be. And PlayStation are usually there as well if you want to flake out and check out the new PlayStation 3. All those people are usually there. But the fact that Ryan's Cleaning are there, kind of being environmental, and this the fact that there is this new Stop Climate Chaos and that they're going to be working with the Live Earth.
Does that mean I'm going to have to put rapeseed oil into my helicopter when I'm flying into Oxygen this year?
I think just once you
I paint my chopper green.
If you recycle your newspapers after you've read them, I think that would be a good start.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. But the big thing is that there are hot showers in the red campsite. Yeah. There is the powder room for the high maintenance girls that would like a blow dry. And if you have, and you can also get the teepees and all that stuff if you want to upgrade your camping. And I think if there's 4 or more people in a car, this is all part of the environmental thing. If you don't take the bus, which is obviously the ideal thing when it comes to Stop Climate Chaos, but if there's 4 or more people per car, then you get free parking.
That's good.
So there are incentives, which is great. I'm really glad to see that.
And check out the website because there's lots of information there.
And Scouting Ireland, of course, there to help you out with your tent, and they can recycle it. So
yeah, because I remember last year was quite a few guys, actually reasonably well-educated guys, sort of not able to put their tent, man. Okay? Yeah. What are these? They're pegs, they're stays. Oh, I thought you just take it out and it just goes up, No, it doesn't.
No.
That's a survival tent that comes out of a military aircraft or an airliner.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't have them at Oxygen.
Do it in the daylight and do mark it.
And don't be pissed when you're doing it.
If you say at 3 a.m, my tent's a 2-man and it's green, good luck. You won't find it.
As happened to Mr. and Mrs. Ryan many years ago, I think it must have been a Vela. I can't remember, but I do know that the Specials, I think, were playing, or was it? Oh, I don't know. I can't remember. So long ago. Was several feels very, very, very drunk, and all the tents look exactly the same. So we just got into somebody else's tent.
A little flag, yeah. Oh, see, loads of people do that. That's the thing. So,
yeah, it's not such a hot idea these days. They were more innocent times. You'd probably just get murdered if you did that nowadays.
Not to freak out parents with their teenagers going off for the first time.
Okay. What's next?
I think the big thing is, I'm talking about the music festivals right now. Ireland.ie can let you know about everything from the Book of Kells Festival to the Wexford Strawberry Festival to the Killarney Summerfest, which is kicking off this weekend.
You didn't cover what to do at the Barbara Streisand concert.
No, it's funny because I think the only thing you do at the Barbara Streisand concert is go bankrupt.
I'm going to it.
Ah, yeah. Well, you and your helicopter, of course you are. But, I'm thinking of Us normal
Having
folk.
dinner with her beforehand.
Oh, Gerry.
I'll teach her a few Irish
He
phrases.
sickens you, doesn't he?
Ganari and burlap.
See, but at least we can live
Doubling.
vicariously through you and your antics. I mean, the
I'll
festival.
take a couple of phone pictures and I'll text them to you, right?
Well, that'd be great. I mean, I still think the festival of all festivals, the benchmark for everything in Ireland, will be and will continue to be Electric Picnic.
Absolutely.
August 31st, 1st and 2nd. It's just...
Why is that your favourite?
I think because it completely caters to the over 25s. I think Oxygen is the best festival for the 15 to 25s and Electric Picnic for the 25
But I had
to
such
45s.
a good time at Oxygen last year when they brought me in my wheelchair to the front of the stage and I watched The Who. They were in wheelchairs
From
as
the
well.
side of the stage.
They were very good.
After helicoptering in.
Yeah, and then I got into my limo and Dennis drove me home.
And that's a fantastic way to enjoy Oxygen. And again, for me, now I have to admit, we were driven to and from Oxygen. We have a VIP area with
I
flashing
had
toilets.
lunch with you in the Hard Rock Cafe.
I know, see, but I don't pretend to do it like the 18 to 25-year-olds, but then I am over 25, and that's why I love Electric Picnic, because you can have spinach and feta pies, you can have, Moe and Shandon if you want to. You can
Would
go to the...
spinach and feta pie be good for you in the tent later, would it?
Oh, well, see, now I come from the hotel
All right.
in the morning.
And you're laughing at me?
Yeah, no,
Use some nerve.
but I'm working.
Houston, use some nerve.
I'm working.
What work will you be doing?
I'll be reporting live.
Go
We'll
on,
be
tell
taking
me, what work will you
live
be doing?
interviews and live 2FM. We've got Oxygen completely covered. We're live
I
from
suppose Cormac Battle will be there, won't he?
and Dan Haggerty
Sucking it
and
up.
Larry Gogan and Mr. Spring doing all the dance stuff. We're recording 4 stages. We're heading out so many hours of live music.
Wow.
And when you're driving home,
Spring's there,
Springer's there.
Battle's there, Gogan's there.
John Kelly's going to be, John Kenny, I should say, I beg your pardon, will be rocking out on Sunday night as well. So, yeah, we'll have live music, live interviews. We'll be recording all the concerts. So if you're there, you'll hear them later on in the year. But also, we'll be talking to everybody. It'll be cool. It'll be deadly.
And will you be talking to people out in the crowd?
Yes, but mainly the bands in the Roadcaster.
So you're not going to go out to meet your public?
I will.
That's a shame.
I'll be out there
I think
for the
it's a
music.
mistake, Jenny. I think it's a mistake.
To
I
meet
think
my
that
public.
boys will want to meet you.
Well, feel free to come up and say hello.
Good morning.
One summer evening, drunk to hell, I sat there nearly lifeless. An old man in the corner sang where the water lilies grow. And on the jukebox, Johnny sang about a thing called love. And it's how are you, kid, and what's your name, and how would you bloody know? In blood and death, 'neath the screaming sky, I lay down on the ground, and the arms and legs of other men were scattered all around. Some cursed, some prayed, then cursed, then prayed, then bled some more. And the only thing that I could see was a pair of brown eyes that was looking at me. But when we got back, labelled parts 1 to 3, there was no pair of brown eyes waiting for me. And a rove, and a rove, and a rove, and I'll go for a pair of brown eyes. I looked at him, he looked at me. All I could do was hate him. While Ray and Philomena sang of my elusive dreams, I saw the streams, the rolling hills where his brown eyes were waiting, and I thought about a pair of brown eyes that waited once for me. So drunk to hell, I left the place, sometimes crawling, sometimes walking. A hungry sound came across the breeze, so gave the walls a talking, and I heard the sounds of long ago from the old canal, and the birds were whistling in the trees where the wind was gently laughing, and a roving, a roving, a roving I'll go, a roving, a roving, a roving I'll go, and a roving, a roving, a roving I'll go, for a pair of brown eyes, for a pair of brown eyes, and a roving, a roving, a roving I'll go, and a roving, a roving, a roving I'll go, and a roving, a roving, a roving I'll go, for a pair of brown eyes.
Back to the story in the Star that we referred to just a few moments ago. Teen waits days for treatment. The story of Darren and the story of Mark. Darren lying with his back broken, but not able to receive treatment because there were only 6 beds available in the National Spinal Unit in Dublin's Mater Hospital. And Mark, his pelvis broken, also in trouble. Let's go first of all to April, who's Darren's sister. April, good morning to you.
Morning to you, Gerry.
Well, tell us what happened.
Basically, we got a phone call on Sunday to say that Darren had been in a crash. We didn't know the extent of his injuries till I rang his girlfriend, Ashley, and she was on the roadside with them at the time, and she just says that they were unconscious at the time and that the ambulance men had arrived, and I was just asking her to speak to him, see was he talking and stuff, and she was saying that he was awake and he was kind of drowsy, but I said, is he serious? She says, I don't know. And I says, can you ask the ambulance men? And they were like, we won't know till we get to the hospital. So
But his back was broken.
His back, yeah. They didn't know at the time how serious his injuries were because when they had crashed the car, the chap that was driving the car, he had got out of the car, and Ashley had got out. They were on the driver's side of the car, where Mark was in the front passenger seat and Darren was behind him. And they were coming down, I think it was the Carlow Road.
Were they driving fast, were they?
No, well, he said he was doing the limits, but there was a chap behind him in a car that kept coming up behind him, nearly to his bumper. So he went to pull in and hit the ditch. The front wheel supposedly got a stone, the wheel blew out and the car just surged down into a tree. The passenger side collided with the tree and kind of pushed them forward. Now, lucky enough, with their seatbelts on, it could have been worse. They could have went through the windscreen, you know. They do say seatbelt saves lives, and obviously in this case it has saved 2 lives.
Certainly sounds like it,
And now, Darren, thank God, has got a bed in the Mater Hospital. He's actually being operated on at 10 o'clock this morning.
Fantastic, that's good news.
But Mark is still waiting down there. We won't know how long. But please God, hopefully by this evening he gets up as well, you know. It's terrible looking at the 2 of them. You can see it in the paper yourself. They really, really went through 4 days of hell. No, they couldn't be fed because they were lying on their back. They couldn't digest food. That's why they couldn't be fed. So they had to be fed through a drip. They were in terrible, terrible pain. Like, they were constantly getting painkillers, and then they needed injections to stop the painkillers making them sick. And then they were sedated as well to be kind of put asleep so they didn't move. Because now I have to say the staff in Kilkenny Hospital couldn't have done any more for them. They just wanted to make sure the boys were as comfortable as possible, but unfortunately they don't have the facilities down there to cope with what came in. So that's why we really, really wanted to just headline it and make sure that people in the country know that we do need more beds in hospitals for cases like this.
All right, I'm going to go over to Lily Cunningham. That's Mark's granny. Now, you stay with me.
I will, yeah.
Lily, good morning to you. How are you?
I'm Gerry.
Welcome. Mark, he broke his pelvis.
No, they got a little wrong in the Star. He actually fractured his spine, and he has a broken bone in his back.
He fractured his spine? That's very serious.
Yeah. But it's just, I wanted to make a point of saying that the system in this country, you know, It's dreadful to think that there's only 6 beds available in the whole of Ireland, you know, for this a spinal injury. Mark was just, thank God he got up yesterday morning, because Mark was kind of critical, you know what I mean? He was more serious than Mark.
Darren was.
Darren, I beg your pardon. Sorry, Gerry. But we're hoping today now, please God, that Mark will get up. But we could not say a better word of the people in the Kilkenny Hospital. They did everything for both lads. But they just haven't got anything down there, you know, to deal with spine.
But it sounds very third worldish, doesn't it? I mean, it's
dreadful. It just
I mean, what would happen if a plane, for instance, crashed?
If there was like,
What
if
would
there was
happen
40 people there waiting for spinal beds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, nobody can comprehend this. I can't. You know what I mean?
I find it extremely difficult to believe that in this day and age, given the amount of money that we have, given the amount of money that's been ploughed into the health service, that the thing can teeter on the edge of, well, possibly, I mean, something very tragic could have happened here.
Yes, it could have been a lot worse, we know. But at the same time, like, those lads were lying there. Mark is still there. Do you know what I mean?
What's going to happen to him?
Well, we're hoping that today something will be done. Now, the Mater Hospital staff, I'm not faulting those. I'm not faulting. It's the system. Do you know what I mean? No beds available, people lying on trolleys. It's a wide range, really.
And guys, back to you, April. Where were the lads? I mean, there's pictures of them in the Star today. They look like they've got 2 lumps of cheese kind of sellotaped to their head. These are the special bricks that stop them moving around.
Stop the movement on them,
But where were they?
They were down in Waterford. They had gone down on Friday for a friend's birthday party and to celebrate his birthday down there. A weekend away, a few of the lads and a few of the girls went with them, you know. Yeah. And unfortunately, a few of them, some of them went by train and a few went by car. And they were just the unfortunate ones there.
But where are they in the photographs? Where are they actually?
They are actually in Kilkenny Hospital.
Yeah.
In that picture there in Kilkenny Hospital.
In a ward?
They're in a ward. They're not in the same ward. They weren't in the same ward. They were in 2 separate wards. Darren was in a ward with a man that was dying, and that man passed away then on Tuesday evening. And Darren was getting very, very upset and agitated. He couldn't see the man, but he could hear what the man was going through. And, like, it was an awful ward for him. It was an awful lot of old people and stuff. How old is
Darren?
He's 18. He'll be 19, please God, in August.
And Mark, Lily, how old is Mark?
Mark is 19. He'll be 20 in August.
They're only babies.
Yeah.
Right, well, today sees Darren going into surgery.
Yeah, he's going into surgery now at 10, please God.
So we'll know before 12, I suppose, what
how
the story
is
there.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get back to us, will you?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And Lily, any idea when Mark will be treated?
No,
None.
didn't. We have nothing definite. You know, we're just hoping when we get down there that we have word to say he's going to be sent up to the Mater Hospital.
Okay.
Because the longer he lies on just a normal bed, you know, I mean, I'd be afraid his injuries would get worse. That's the way I see it.
He has spinal injuries as well.
He has, yes, and he has those blocks, as April says.
Yeah.
You know, you can just imagine looking at a ceiling for 5 days.
Well, will you keep in contact with us as well, Lily, and keep us up to date on what's happening?
Oh, I will, sir.
All right,
Gerry.
ladies, thank you very much for
No
talking
problem.
to us
Thanks
this
very
morning.
much, Gerry. Bye-bye.
There you go. This story, of course, is part of the Star's ongoing Health Before Money campaign, Put People First. And I have to say, it's kind of beyond belief. I'll say it again, that in a first world country, that you would have to have a campaign of this nature. That these 2 young men with their spinal injuries would have to wait several days before, not only before they could be slotted in for surgery, but before they could even get a bed in the appropriate unit in the Mater Hospital in Dublin. It's just Well, I don't know about you. I mean, maybe some of you have become immune to this when you hear the word health. I know a lot of people switch off, but it's when it comes knocking on your door, I can assure you it's not a switch off. You get switched on pretty quickly when you see your nearest and dearest lying in front of you and suffering, possibly close to death. What compounds that situation, though, and it's unacceptable that such a thing could happen in 2007, is when you're looking at somebody who's not receiving the care and the treatment that they should be because of the system. I mean, it beggars belief.
90 to 92. The Gerry Ryan Show, Monday to Friday, 9 till 12 on 2FM.
Well, you may be complaining about the weather. It's a bit dull and it's a bit horrible out there and it's not really like summer. Well, I can tell you, you could have the absolute polar opposite if you were in Greece at the moment. Great photograph in the Daily Mail today on page 18. The beach, it's packed. People are in their bikinis. Kids are playing and frolicking in the surf. Umbrellas are up and sun loungers have been stretched out. The ice cream man's doing a roaring trade. The only thing that's odd and strange about this photograph is the sun disappearing behind the hills in the picture. No, it's not rising, it's disappearing because this photograph was taken at 9 o'clock at night. Such is the power of a 115-degree heat wave, which has swept Greece, a popular holiday destination, it says here for the Irish. In the past 5 days, it's too uncomfortable to venture onto the sand until evening. Even then, it remains so hot that a swim is still the only way to cope. Now, this is a beach south of Athens, a place called Alamos. Normally, that beach would close and be completely finished for business by 8 o'clock, but it's now remaining open until midnight while the baking spell continues, and the normal €3 entry fee to the beach has also been waived. 115 degrees. Staying with the holiday theme, what's the thing that you miss most when you go on holidays, like? Well, I have the official survey here. Some will pine for a creamy pint of Guinness from the local pub. Others long for a good old-fashioned feed of bacon, spuds and cabbage. I have to say I've never thought of either of those things when I'm away on holidays. But a new survey claims that fish and chips is the meal Irish holiday makers missed the most when they were abroad. Can you believe that? Yeah, well, it's true. I'll give you the top 10. 2% of those surveyed said they missed hamburgers. I mean, where were they going that you couldn't get a hamburger? 9% said they missed crew beans. I miss crew beans. I love them. I really love them. Next time I go away, I'm going to pack up the case full of crew beans. Do you remember that? My parents used to. I remember when we used to go away to Spain. Well, this would have been back in the 60s, in the mid-60s. There weren't too many Irish holidaymakers going there then. But my parents used to bring away 2 suitcases full of rashers and sausages and lots of good Irish stuff. And what was the purpose behind this? You know, they weren't going to get caught out by that foreign food. That's right. You'd be walking upon an evening, and even as a young child, I could detect the delicate waft of cinnamon and spice as it came out of the restaurant where maybe a paella was being prepared to be set upon the table. Magnificent conglomeration of risotto and seafood and shellfish. Oh, fantastic. But were the Ryans eating that? No way. We weren't going to be cut out by that foreign muck. It was a good feed of sausages and rashers, maybe a bowl of porridge to kick off in the morning. Why? And I presume there's lots more of you out there that can remember that, where your ma and dad would bring away all the food. Or were we the only family? Anyway, crew beans is at number 9. What's at number 8? I think this is made up. This is too ridiculous. At number 8, coddle. There's no... Take that lobster thermidor away. I want a bowl of coddle. Oh, dear God. Is tripe on this list, is it? Is tripe on the list? This was done at Dublin Airport, was it? When they were all pissed at that bar just before you get onto the plane. Anyway, at number 7, if I can't have cuddle, I want Culcannon. None of your steak au poivre from me. Culcannon, that's what I want. At number 6, the old traditional Irish lasagna. That's what we miss the most. What do they mean, lasagna? Where are they going? Where is it? Somalia? I mean, for God's sake, where are they going that they can't get lasagna? At 5, they also miss a great tendency towards the Latino foodstuffs. At number 5, they miss spaghetti bolognese. That's right. They miss... At number 4, oh, for God's sake. Champ. That's ludicrous. At number 3, the traditional Irish dish of curry. That's what 10% miss. That's a lot. That's right up there. It's in the top 3. And at 2, Irish stew they miss. But the biggest thing that the Irish miss when they go abroad is fish and chips. I mean, I like fish and chips. I don't miss them when I go abroad. And to be perfectly honest, there's very, very few places that I've ever been to where you couldn't get fish and chips. Oh, God, just this, you know... I'm kind of glad in a way that I haven't been to any of the traditional resorts for many years because I just couldn't bear it. I can remember it. I remember being in Torremolinos and you'd go along to the Irish pub and you'd, how are you? Irish? Well, yeah. Where are you from? Dublin. Ah, good man. One of the Dubs. One of our own. One of our own. This is a great place, isn't it? Yeah, fantastic. Great, isn't it? Do you know we're having for the 3rd time today? We had it for breakfast, lunch, and we're going to have it for dinner tonight. Bacon, egg and sausage. And a big plate of chips. It's just like being at home. And they're after sending over tapes of the match. So, it's like you never left home. It's fantastic. And they're after blocking out the sun because I'm after getting an allergic reaction to the sun. So we blocked out the sun. There's no sun coming in here. We've got pints of lager and Guinness, and we've got bacon, egg and sausage whenever you want it. And Heinz tomato ketchup and Tato. Sure, it's like you never left home. It's like, and do you know what I'm having after I've had the bacon, egg and sausage? Wait till you see the batch loaf, Kerrygold butter. They have it here. And Tato crisps in a crisp sandwich and a pint of stout. Just like you never left home. Now, Gerry says the one texter on 51552. I worked in Lanzarote for a year and I passionately missed corned beef and batch loaf. Yeah. Would you get that in Lanzarote? No, you wouldn't. There's definitely somewhere where you'd get batch loaf. Now, Darren, good morning to you.
Good morning, Gerry. How are you?
Very good. Earlier on in the week, was it this week or was it last week?
I think it was this week. It was Monday,
week.
I think.
I was talking about Sweet Fanny Adams, Sweet F.A., and I mused out loud, if I recall, saying, I wonder who Fanny Adams was. It's a phrase, by the way, just in case you've been living under a stone for 100 years, that we use to instead of saying 2 other words, isn't it? Now, who was Fanny Adams?
Well, Fanny Adams was a real person, and she lived back in 1867. She was a young girl of 8 years of age, and she was out playing with 3 of her friends. She lived in Alton, in Hampshire, and she was out playing with 3 of her friends one fine day in August, and the 3 girls met a gentleman by the name of Frederick Barker, who was a solicitor's clerk locally in the town. And Mr. Barker started talking to the girls, and he was giving them money to play games, to run and do things like that. And he asked Fanny Adams basically to come with him. He gave her half a crown, I think it was at the time, and he asked Fanny Adams to come with him. And the 2 other girls then, one which was Fanny Adams' sister, they went on their way home and left Fanny with this man. So later on that day, when the 2 girls returned home, the parents asked, where's Fanny? And she says, she's gone off with such and such a man, Frederick Barker. They didn't know him, but they knew who he was in the town. And but later on that evening, Fanny Adams still hadn't returned home. So a search party was set out anyway to see if they could find where Fanny Adams was. And they happened to bump into Frederick Barker on his way back from the fields, and they started talking to him and asked him. They knew that he was the gentleman that was with her, and they asked him, have you seen Fanny Adams? And he says no. He said he had seen the three girls earlier on, and that he'd given them money to go and buy some sweets. And they thought no more of that. But unfortunately, as they continued the search, they happened across the body of poor Fanny Adams.
My
now,
God.
Unfortunately for Fanny, she suffered a horrendous death. The coroner at the time recorded that she had died as a result of a blow to the head. But unfortunately, that's not where it ended for poor Fanny Adams, because whoever committed the crime continued then to dismember the body. And there's a long list.
What did he do?
I suppose we'll start. First of all, he removed her head. Her eyes were removed. One of her ears was removed. And if that wasn't bad enough, but he then placed her little head on the top of a stick, on a pike. A little bit further away from that, her upper torso was found. And unfortunately...
and did he stick the stick into the ground?
As far as I know, they found it on top of a pike. He used two sticks, basically, and put her little head on top of it, you know. Her torso was found then a little distance away, and her internal organs had been removed, and they found them scattered around the area as well. Her two arms had been removed, and they still actually found the money in her clenched hand that she had been given. Unfortunately, that's pretty much all they found of her, because they never found the lower part of her body. They believe that the local river, they found its way into the river, and it
How do you mean the lower part of her body? Her legs?
It was from her belly button down, basically, was missing. She was more or less...
Her genitals?
Everything from her midriff down was missing. They never found...
Sweet Jehovah.
Yeah, it's quite horrific now. You got to remember as well that this is 1867, and in that particular area, there hadn't been a murder in living memory in that area, and I suppose any murder is horrific, but when it was a murder of a child, it was particularly horrific. And as well as that, if you put it in perspective, this is like 20 years before Jack the Ripper started his murder spree in London, you know, so this is a very horrific crime. But needless to say that the police at the time started their investigation anyway, and it wasn't long before Frederick Barker became the prime suspect. And the police obviously went and called to him, and they searched Mr. Barker, and they found two small penknives, and these were bloodstains. And they also found blood on the cuffs of his clothing, and he couldn't explain how it got there. So he was arrested anyway, and eventually he was charged with the murder. And in his defence, one of the issues that he raised in his defence was that the two knives were too small to cause such horrific injuries to the little girl, and that there was no possible way that that he could have committed the crime. I think he also tried to plead insanity or temporary insanity or whatever it was at the time.
McNaughton's rules. Yeah.
That's it. And obviously the jury, I think, only took 15 minutes to find him guilty anyway.
And of course, in those days, the prosecution of a criminal trial was largely based on circumstantial evidence, unless you had eyewitnesses or a confession.
Well, that's right. And the fact that he was the last person to be seen with them, the bloodstained knives. Yeah. I think, though, the most damning piece of evidence that was the final nail in his coffin, they found 2 days later after Fanny was found, they searched his offices. He worked, as I said, for a solicitor. And they searched the offices of the solicitor, and they found his diary. Yeah. And the entry that he had placed in his diary for the date concerned was, killed a young girl, it was fine and hot. So that was the last piece of damning evidence that proved the case as such for the prosecution. And
his dismembering of the body, was it surgical or was it blunt and hatchet?
No, it was quite horrific. I think there was no he had no medical
finesse to it. No,
it was quite it was just very brutal, and they never really found all of Fanny Adams, because her body was scattered around the area at the time. So they never really found all of the body, which was, that sort of added to it.
Her head was put on A pike.
That's right, yeah, you know, so fairly horrific. But what happened then after his conviction, on Christmas Eve in 1867, in front of a crowd of 5,000 people, he was hanged for the murder of Fanny Adams. And that was the end of him. So I suppose justice was done in some way. But
the expression itself, though, I mean, how did that come into popular use?
Well,
and you know what we're talking about, folks. It's like somebody might say, well, he got sweet Fanny Adams out of that, you know.
Well, in around the same time, the British Navy introduced new meat rations, mutton, that they would, you know, serve to their sailors while at sea. And obviously the preservation of meat at the time probably wasn't the best. So, you know, the sailors didn't really like it. They didn't like eating it. So
salted it, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah. So the term basically came from, you know, being useless meat or worthless meat, and the fact that all of Fanny Adams was never found, that it was sort of a black humour way of saying, oh, you know, that maybe that's part of Fanny Adams. That
you might as well be eating sweet Fanny Adams.
Fanny Adams. So that's where the word comes from. And then, as you say, in more modern times, it's been adapted to sweet FA, or well, we know what that stands for now. But when people want to use it less crudely, they revert to the original saying, which is sweet Fanny Adams. So
stay with us for a moment.
Yeah.
How do you know this, by the way?
I'm actually reading a book at the moment. It's The Law of Strangest Cases, and when I heard it, I just read the story of Fanny Adams, and when I heard you say it then on Monday, I said, "Oh, I must send that into Gerry and let him know where it comes from." You know, so not a lot of people probably would be aware that it was.
Are you studying law? Are you?
I am indeed. I'm a mature student in UCD at the moment. I've just finished first year, so
because you remind me of a period during my own studies where I used to spend a lot of time reading early forensic reports, kind of in the days just before the sort of world of CSI became as scientific as it is now. And I remember being fascinated by these very old police photographs of people who, it appeared, had crawled into a fire and things like that. And the explanations were, you know, I put it to you, Mr. Ryan, that you killed your wife and put her body into the fire. And fellas would attempt to get off, and indeed sometimes did, by, you know, saying things like, no, she tried to kill herself by crawling into the fire. And while they had the photograph, they had the ability to take photographs a long, long time ago, that was about it. They didn't really have any analysis of it, and it was an awful lot of it was made up as you went along. Carmel, good morning.
What the hell was wrong with the British Navy? What I will say, I would have thought in those times they were supposed to be more refined than now. My God, they wouldn't do it now.
The tars, back in those days, no, they would not have been refined fellows at all.
Oh, dear.
But the average sailor would not have been a refined fellow, not at all.
No, but it is alarming that you think the olden days were supposed to be ever so more refined and cultured. If that happened today, in the context of today, there'd be uproar. Because I think it's horrific. When I was listening to that chap describing, all the hairs on the back of my neck stood up because I said, oh my God, I have used that phrase at times. Never again.
And you never understood who Fanny was?
Good Lord, no. Had I known, I never would have used it. And as long as I live, I will never use it again. Because I think it's dreadful that people would use it as a throwaway remark, a reference to something so horrific.
Yeah. Her head on a pike.
Oh, God, I could feel all the hair on the back of my neck standing up. I said, that's just unreal. As he was describing what had been done, I thought, my God, that person was it was beyond psychopathy. You know, a psychopath, you know, a straightforward psychopath wouldn't have made such a mess of a small child. I thought, oh, God, it's horrific.
I wouldn't be too sure of that. Darren, is there any possibility that this might have been Jack the Ripper in his very early incarnation? No?
No, I don't think so. I suppose the court at the time felt that all the evidence pointed towards Frederick Barker, the local solicitor's clerk. He was only 24 years of age as well, so he was a young enough man.
And he was obviously psychopathic to be able to do something like that. Yeah.
Well, during the court case, his defence raised issues in relation to his own family upbringing, that he came from a violent past, and that his father bet him, and his father was an alcoholic, and they tried to put this forward as a reason of explanation why he acted the way he did, you know. So, but it's funny enough. Maybe this gives an idea of the way he was thinking when he left Fanny Adams that day. He called in for a pint in the local pub on the way home, and he met a friend of his who would later give evidence that he was talking to him that day. And in the pub, he explained, or he expressed that he was going to find it very hard to find a new job if he ever left the job that he was in. And he sort of made a comment saying, maybe I could get a job as a butcher. So that was entered in evidence as well at his trial, that he had said this, and this is on his way back from his time with poor little Fanny Adams. So maybe that gives you sort of an insight into.
Were they able to divine how she actually died, as opposed to how she was dismembered?
Yes, the coroner at the time, he ruled that it was a result of there was a large rock used, and basically she died from a blow to the head. So I think probably at the time, to save the family, they probably said that she died fairly instantly as a result of the blow of the head. But that was down.
One hopes.
Well, that's it, So that was the principal cause of death.
Well, I have you there. Fellas texted in on 51552. Gerry, I say Janie Mack all the time. Who was Janie Mack?
I don't know that one.
Well, if anybody does, 1850 715 922. Darren, feel free to ring us any time.
No problem, will do.
Good luck to you.
Great talking to you, Jay. Bye-bye now.
Gerry